Hello, 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 my beautiful friends, your boy Seth here, giving you a look at Sephonie, which releases on Friday for the Nintendo Switch, finally coming to consoles. Huge thanks to our friends at Analgesic Productions, who provided us a code for the Nintendo Switch version to show you guys. So, just full stop, Analgesic Productions is my favorite independent game developer. I adore all of their games. If you've listened to our podcast, All in a Nintendo podcast, they have been on the show. The two developers, Melos Hantani and Marina Kitaka, have appeared on the show before. I love their games. Anodyne 1 and 2, Even the Ocean, and now Sephonie. And I'm very excited that Sephonie is finally on consoles. It's been out on PC for some time, but now we have it here on the Nintendo Switch, and I couldn't be more thrilled to show you guys this game and why you should play it. And really, all of their games, I think they are criminally underrated, and they're making really special, unique stuff in the indie space that needs more attention. So this is going to be a little bit of a different video than I typically do on the channel. Typically we do sort of like a first look or commentated let's play or something. This is actually going to be a little bit of a guided experience. This is the very beginning of the game. I did bypass the introductory cutscene because I want you guys, you know, story is such a huge component of their games. So I do want y'all to be able to experience that fresh for yourselves. So I didn't want to spoil too much. So this is like post initial cutscene, post kind of like mini tutorial, and this is just kind of getting like straight into the actual gameplay of Sephonie. But this is the beginning section of the game. You actually play as 3 characters in Sephonie. This is Amy, this is Rio, and this is Ingwen, and they all come from very different backgrounds. They are working together as a team of researchers that are coming to this island called Sephonie to research the flora, fauna, you know, fungi and everything else on the island. Circumstances get them stranded on the island. They end up getting shipwrecked. Again, I won't spoil how or why. You'll have to find that out for yourself. And here we are. We are here on Sephonie Island. You can swap with the pull of the left trigger between any of the 3 playable characters. There is no gameplay difference between either one of them. I personally find myself playing as Rio the most because I just really like Rio's design. I like that he's wearing like slippers and socks and like this, I don't know, kind of like lime green. I don't know. I like his design a lot. I love them all. By the end of the game, you're gonna love all these characters. Great characters, great writing. The music is incredible. But the gameplay, this is a 3D platformer, kinda. And the big sort of like unique differentiator for Sephonie, I would say, is the controls and the consideration that its controls play and the way it informs the game's level design, the way you're actually navigating this world. So you're walking around, and like any 3D platformer, you jump, right? But these characters, they're researchers, and they utilize a technology called Onyx that allows them to do some incredible feats of strength, like sprinting, like running at high speeds, like this. And it also allows things like a dash. So when you jump in the air, you can dash. Your dash also sort of functions. The game does not have a double jump, but you can sort of bump into and dash into a wall or a ledge in order to kind of get a second jump that way and almost mantle onto a ledge surface. And maybe your most, one of your most, used skills anyway is a wall run. You can also wall run. And that's a huge component of the game as well. You have to approach a wall in a sprint at I think the game calls it a glancing angle, and you'll begin a wall run. So This is a thing too. Items are hidden around the area. There's, you know, multiple levels. Eventually we'll get into caves. I don't know if how much of that I'll show. Maybe I'll go into the first cave section and show y'all a little bit of it. But that's kind of your moment-to-moment gameplay, is you're running, you're jumping, you're dashing, you're, you know, wall bouncing and getting onto ledges, and you're sprinting and wall running and all the rest. But when you combine those basic movement abilities, it can allow for some really fun and experimental things like this, where you can sort of wall run at the angle, you know, come into an immediate jump, and then bounce and get to platforms you might not have thought you could before, and access little hidden, you know, capsules that give you a little bit more backstory and insight into the characters. And I don't know, I think that this game's most divisive element is certainly its controls, but I really love them. I think that it is a very unique way to approach a 3D platformer. Another thing, and this will kind of lead into the next major gameplay element, there will be implements in the world that you'll kind of come to know and understand. For example, like this sort of dandelion, you know, looking thing will actually kind of give me wings if I jump into it. And from there I can jump onto this. And this is one of the creatures of the island. So, as it says, by getting close to a creature, it'll be logged in the link list. You can finish linking here or at a checkpoint. You don't need to link with every creature to complete the game, so feel free to take things at your own pace. One of the things that we're doing here, since we are researchers, is we are researching the flora, fauna, and like fungi and things of the island. So you will encounter unique creatures and plants and all sorts of things that you can link to with your Onyx to gain a better understanding of them. So by pressing X, I'll engage in an Onyx link with them. Each creature has got a unique Onyx link, and it is sort of this match 3 like Tetris sort of moment. For this, you know, gastrolith lizard balasteel, it's got some sort of strange rock breaking mechanic. So each of them, I'll mess that up a little bit actually, but each of these creatures have their own, you know, sort of mechanic to them, and they each have like a different way of approaching their link. My objective here is to get as many links as possible before ending my turn. You actually have on the right there, you can see that little yellow bar that is decreasing. That's the amount of like turns that I have. I kind of screwed up early here, so I'm gonna have to end my turn pretty early actually. You can also see the like pieces that I have coming up. I can rotate my pieces just like, you know, Tetris or whatever. But when I end my turn, groups, which the game calls islands, will disappear and fill up that meter at the top, which is how I form links with these creatures. On their turn, they have like special actions that they take, and essentially you want to do this for as many things as possible. Make as, you know, islands that are as big as possible. Yeah, these rocks are kind of getting in my way. And it's like a simple but fun and satisfying little, you know, match 3 puzzle thing that I think is really well implemented and kind of comes into this entire theme of connection that the game has. So I have connected my Onyx link to this creature, and it's been added to the link list. Decoding data for gastrolith lizard balasteel. It combs the seafloor for algae and sea cucumbers, having ingested rocks to control its buoyancy. So now I know about this thing. I can press X to observe it. Successful underwater hunts start with good rocks, smooth, 2 to 3 centimeters in diameter, the best, often found near the bottom of cliffs. Some crabs trade rocks for rare sea cucumbers. Smaller rocks easily pass through the body and should be swallowed. Larger ones are kept in the mouth, useful for quick height adjustments. Your intuition for rocks must change as you age and grow. So you sort of connect to these things on the island, learn more about them, and you can sort of like learn about their way of life. And yeah, it plays into this theme of like connection to things and other people and everything around you. The game has this kind of surrealist tone that that I think many of their games carry. And I think that it works really well here, although it's quite a bit more the story, and I don't want to spoil anything about the story, but it's quite a bit more like grounded and human than you might expect, considering the nature of everything we're seeing here. But something to keep in mind when it comes to the gameplay, and I do think the controls, I mentioned this earlier, will be the most divisive part of this game. This is a checkpoint right here, by the way. You'll see these little things, and you'll hit them as checkpoints. Another thing that I can do if I, like, say, get myself in an area that is inaccessible, I can hold B and just go right back to my previous checkpoint, which is really handy. The platforming and the moveset that you have in this game is actually quite powerful. Like, you can actually do quite a lot with it, but it does require you to like meet it halfway. The game controls in a very non-traditional way. If you come into Sephonie wanting this to play like Mario, it doesn't, right? What it actually is more akin to like Tony Hawk. I heard was like I think I heard Marina or Mello say that Tony Hawk was kind of an inspiration for the game, and that makes sense. The game actually reminds me quite a lot of like the old like Prince of Persia games, like these very considered, measured platformers where you see a problem and you know how you need to solve it, but it's going to take your skill and ingenuity to solve that problem. This is like kind of a simple example of that, where I've got, this big patch of grass. I have like a stretch of land ahead of me, right, that I know that I can sprint through, but that patch of grass is going to slow me down, and I need all the speed I can get to jump off and get to that capsule, right? So, like, how do I do that? Well, you kind of weave your way around the grass, get enough, and then you can come over here and bounce off of it. That's a very simple, example of kind of what I'm talking about. But the geometry and, like, the layout of the cave systems that we'll end up exploring, which we might actually get into a little bit here. Ryu glances over his shoulder. Hey guys, over there. Ingwen looks over to confirm. Oh, the cave? Should we go in? Focusing intently, Amy considers her options. The wind is quieted down since the storm. The moist cave soil, untouched by the movements of the sun, mixes earthy scents into the sea breeze, and it smells like campgrounds after the families and friends have left. An empty dirt lot where a favorite restaurant once stood. A newly sodded park at the center of a neighborhood. Something nostalgic, something new. When the breeze quiets down, the trio hears the faintest allure-scented sounds flowing from the cave's mouth. So, you can already see some strangeness going on. The cave. We should stay on the surface for now. What was that feeling? Strange, nostalgic sounds and smells and feelings coming from the cave. So there's obviously like some interesting stuff going on. Later in the game, as you progress, it's also it's got a little bit of like Metroidvania flavor, because while this is your core moveset that I've sort of demonstrated for you, there's a lot more that you sort of unlock throughout the course of the game. The game's running time, you're looking at, with most analgesic games, you're looking at anywhere, it really depends on how much you engage with it. If you're going to track down all of these little capsules that are hidden around, if you're going to try to link with everything, you could probably get between 10 and 12 hours with this game. Conversely, I think you could rush through it in probably 6 to 8 hours. So, your mileage may vary. We have this whale-looking creature here. It's also got... I really love this game's art style. I love the sort of low poly... a friend of mine coined the term coral punk, And I think that's a genius term that I really like. This sort of, yeah, like the game that this reminds me the most of from a like tonal, I don't know, vibes perspective is Final Fantasy X for some reason. The music reminds me of Final Fantasy X. The aesthetic, the choral punk aesthetic reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy X. Maybe a little Chrono Cross also, but these like low poly sort of like models and a little bit of like light cell shading. I think it works really, really well. I really love it. So let's engage with an Onyx link with this creature here. The Beached Kogia Martyr Whale. So let's see what we've got here. Also, I think, because you can see it actually has got Ingwen's portrait there, I think that's dependent on their actual specializations. Like I think Ingwen is more specialized at, you know, at sort of learning about a creature of this type. So, but each of these have like unique, you know, links and things that you have to achieve in order to properly link with them. Let's see, what do I want to do with this? Let me do this here. I don't really have a good amount of space to do anything with that, unfortunately. But even just this, like even just like the thing about this game and really many of Analgesic's games is, you know, any one element of it could have been enough. You know what I mean? Like any one element of it could have, like they could have gotten away with the game kind of just being a unique match 3 puzzler. They could have gotten away with the game being just, you know, a cool, you know, interesting 3D platformer with a unique control scheme. But it's like way more than all of that. So yeah, it's also got, you know, and I mentioned this earlier, but it bears repeating. But it really does have like a wonderful story with a wonderful cast of characters and a very like sort of, I don't know, hopeful like theme of connection. Ultimately, I mean, like it's got the story goes places. I'm not gonna spoil a word of it, but it's got a lot to say. This game, and I really sort of appreciate what it's going for. Let's do that. Ugh, I don't love this setup, but that's okay. We can go ahead and complete the link now, anyways. Onyx link connected. Another thing I should say, if you see there at the bottom right how it says Next Dreaming Core Light, that's another thing that I had linked with earlier. Another thing to note, whenever you link with something, you will get a special tile set from linking. So they actually, it's got a little Pokemon in it too, in a way. Strangely, it beaches itself to bury eggs in the sand. Juveniles are birthed into a mini ecosystem blossoming around their parents' remains. From there, they crawl to the ocean using hind legs that will vanish by adulthood. That's interesting. I feel like we're really getting the hang of this. Yeah, good work, team. Hey, I think I see another species we could link with over there. Hold on, didn't we already link with it? I don't think so. Well, no harm in checking either way. Martyr Whale. I've finally returned. My last trip. Much has remained the same. Hello, Golden Sand. Hello, Little Cove. It's been a while, hasn't it? Take care of my children for me. I'll be joining the forest shortly. So, it's little things like this. It's being able to connect with these creatures and seeing their inner thoughts and little bits of writing like that. That stuff is very special. Okay, barely made it. Let me show you what these items are. These capsules that you're collecting have little bits of, you know, just additional lore, and kind of just gives you like a little bit of like fun writing Oreo jerky again? Sure, it's salty, but it's good for my jaw. You read that in a women's magazine once. Black pepper is your favorite. The tang, chew, stewed sweetness, munch, images of bison across the American Great Plains, the circle of life, your current lack of a beer. Sephonie Island doesn't have cows or beer, right? So yeah, they each have like little, fun, flavor text pieces of backstory for the characters. Worth collecting. It doesn't seem like you get anything like special necessarily for collecting them all, but I really like them. I think it adds like, and most of them are located in like an interesting kind of challenging place to reach that'll sort of challenge the way you engage with the game's controls. So I really recommend it. The game has a lot to say about connection and the ways that we are, very different from one another, but also very much the same. And it makes you kind of appreciate the world around you with all these interesting creatures and environments to explore. Trust me, this beginning area only barely scratches the surface. It's got a wonderful story, wonderful characters. I would really love for you guys to check this one out. I'm gonna do a little bit more just to show you guys a little bit more of the game in motion, but yeah, kind of a weird because I actually have already we got early access to the game. Again, big thanks to Analgesic for providing us early access. It's I really love their games, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to show their games to more people, because they mean a lot to me, and I think that more people should play them. I think they deserve a lot more recognition than they get. So that's something that and here's sort of like the gimmick of this is these little cells here. I can place, you see this I normally would not be able to place this with an obstacle there, but what actually ends up happening is it just sort of deletes that. So I'm able to still place it. Don't think there's a lot more I can do here. So it's all these like little things that you have to consider. Kind of do that. And I could honestly, I could sit here and just play this all day. Just like these really interesting, unique little, implementations of match 3 puzzle mechanics, even just this I really like. I wonder if, yeah, because I can kind of then take advantage of that. Yeah, so it's a very, very unique game. Let's see, what do I want to do with this? I guess I'll stick it down here just because I have a little bit more that I can play with here. Alright, out of pieces. If you're not able to make enough links, that's when you'll begin to, take hits to your health. You do have a finite amount of health. As you can see, I've only got 2 little health pieces there. If I lose those, I do have to restart the link. So you do need to keep an eye on that. Just go ahead and clear some of that out. This is a weird one. I don't really have a great spot for this. Let's see, I could probably just kind of stick it in there. Yeah, this one either. Okay. We should be able to link with it on the next turn just fine, though. There we go. The Rapid Growth Sporocarp Clown's Balloon. It's capable of unsettlingly fast growth, almost appearing to inflate like an elongated balloon. Anyone getting tired? Well, it is getting late. We should eat something soon. I could keep looking around, but if you both want to take a break, then that's fine with me. Great, let's find a place to rest when we're ready. Woo-wee, woo-wee. My one big secret to scaling up, the micro-helical sporocarp structure. Its architecture, its engineering. 50% of the material for double growth, double speed. History in the making. Well, as soon as I sign the contract with those nutrient investors. Okay, let's go rest up at the camp. I think we'll get a little bit of a cutscene here at this camp. And then I think we can go into the cave itself. And I'll show you guys a little bit of the cave, because that gives us kind of more of a look at what the game at large is. And then we'll call the video there. I don't want to go too far. I don't want you guys to see too much actual story, but this will give you a little bit of a sense for it. I mean, look at how pretty this is. I love this. Rio, weren't you talking about all your favorite cooking shows on the boat? I mean, it would be one thing if we had a grill, or at least like some aluminum foil. I've researched all the best implements for my kitchen, but I don't follow any stick review blogs. Well, I normally order food, not going to be much help here. Ingwen, thoughts? Oh, well, we could cut the fish down to the belly like this. Oh yeah, butterfly cut. Right, and then we can arrange some sticks across the coals like this and lay the fish on top. That looks good. Why didn't you just say that you knew how to cook it? Oh, sorry. No, it's fine. It's just... I know that I'm technically the expedition lead, but we're all in this together, right? Everyone has something to contribute. Everyone can take initiative. Oh, yeah, of course. It's one thing for her to say that. She's still kind of intimidating, though. There's the cave. That night, each of them dreamed of the gaping cave mouth at the center of the island. An echoing call murmured from deep within. Each of them heard their own name. Amy, Rio, Hingwen. Upon waking, they would be too distracted to remember it. The next morning... A chorus of wildlife and ocean waves. Amy and Rio were still sleeping as Ingwen quietly shuffled off for a walk, and sure enough, the barrier was still there. However, a dust-like powder began to cloud the air, vanishing as it touched the ground. The fine white particles had a nostalgic, unplaceable smell. They irritated Ingwen's throat. Covering her mouth, trying to avoid breathing the dust in, Ingwen ran to wake the others. Hey, is it snowing? Hey everyone, wake up! What? It looks like the barrier is shedding some kind of energy particles. What the hell is it? The snow, I think it's creating some kind of feedback in the implants. I thought I was just tired, but what do we do? We need shelter. Wait, but what about our... No, head for the cave now. Are you sure about this? It's just a cave, right? It's our best option. Come on. So they're forced into the cave. The particles having an effect on their Onyx implants. This is a character that you'll come to know quite a lot more. The Observer. That is the story of how I met Amy, Ingwen, and Ryu. You didn't see me? Of course you did. I was all around them. How do I explain? I'm Sephonie Island. Call me the spirit of the island if that helps. My flesh is soil and stone, my veins are roots and fungal filaments. I see what the creatures see, taste what they taste. It's more complicated than just that, of course, but then so are the boundaries of your body and yourself. I used to live a simple life, but nothing calls into question what you are quite like meeting someone entirely different. And I think that sentence just perfectly sums up the game in general. There's nothing quite, like learning what you are than meeting someone entirely different. I hope this project completes safely. I hope I can help everyone do a good job. I hope our research is valuable for humankind. It wasn't just that they were human. No, it was those strange contraptions that each of them wore, a small black capsule linked into their nervous systems, offering mundane enhancements to physical strength and speed, but capable of more, much more. Onyx. I remember it like the night sky, like an ocean abyss. I remember its inky, swirling, irresistible pull. Onyx was not just a void, but a meeting place. Every plant they linked with, every roving insect, every point of connection grew new tendrils of understanding between us. More and more, I came to know them the most beautiful way. So, what am I doing here? Why am I alone? There's more to this story. I must remember it. I must remember more. And that is the setup for Sephonie. Hopefully that's given you a good sort of tease, a good taste, a good want to learn more about the game. Hopefully that gives you somewhat of a good understanding of kind of what's going on here and the unique gameplay, the unique story that is being told here. The wonderful, wonderful music that I think is genuinely, like, y'all, I didn't think I was going to like a soundtrack more than Zelda's soundtrack this year, but as this game progresses, and, like, the music is killer the entire way through. It's so good. Analgesic always has wonderful music. Melis's music is always wonderful. But he's really outdone himself with Sephonie. It is incredible. So I'm going to show you guys just the briefest look at this first little cave structure, and then we're going to call the video. So much for us to learn. So this is, now that, we've kind of, kicked off the beginning of the game, this is what a lot of the game is. You're going to be exploring this cave structure. There are many, many layers, a lot of visual variety to it, a lot to see and explore here, a lot to do, a lot to see, and you're going to encounter a lot of different things. A lot of little, like, environmental implements like this thing, which kind of gives you another jump if you bounce off of it. And this is, again, just barely scratching the surface of sort of what's possible with this game and the things that it provides you. And also, another thing that I really want to highlight with this, if you feel like you can't sort of jive with the controls, if you feel like the game controls, like, too... if you aren't sort of willing to meet the game halfway on its controls, I do think that that's going to be the most divisive thing about this game, is I think people will see as a creature I can link with over there. Not going to right now, but I could do it. I do think that that's going to be most people's biggest complaint with the game, is its controls, but I'm telling you, like... Once you are sort of able to speak this game's language, just give it time. Just give the game time to let you learn it. It's non-traditional, right? You've never played a platformer that controls this way. But once you've learned it, once you've spent your time and you've learned to speak the game's language, y'all, like, the controls aren't bad. It actually feels great, and you actually have so much that you can do with it. So... I encourage you to just, like, not, make, like, a snap judgment when you play the game, and just sort of allow the game time to breathe with you and just, like, learn it and give it a real try. With that being said, another thing I'll show off here is the game has, and Analgesic's games all have, very good options for accessibility. So we can turn on infinite dash and infinite jump if we want to. You can even turn on an easy mode for the Onyx links if you're having issues with that. So if I want to, I can dash infinitely. I can turn that on. I can make it so that I can just dash forever, you know, which will negate much of the challenge of the game. I don't recommend you play this way, but if you're somebody who's having a lot of issue reckoning with the game's controls, that might make things a little bit easier for you. I would hate for you to feel like you can't sort of, you know, meet this game and see what this game has to offer just because you can't wrap your mind around the controls, or just because you don't like the controls or whatever. So I just want to encourage anybody watching this. I do want you all, I think you all should play this. I think everybody should give this game a chance. I really love it, and I really love all of their games. But if you do find yourself struggling with the controls, these accessibility options are there, and while they're not necessarily recommended, don't let the controls be the thing to stop you from playing the game. So just be aware of that. Again, you can easily go into the settings, turn them off and on whenever you want. There's no penalty to doing so. Yeah. So anyways, and as you can see, like, there's some really interesting areas, like how do I get up there and get that capsule, right? Lots of interesting creatures and things to link with. I can already see on this screen, like, multiple things. You know, the game's great. The game's great. And as a little added bonus, if you want to hear even more about Sephonie, tune in to the podcast this week, where we'll be doing a full dedicated indie showcase. We highlight indie games every single week on our weekly Nintendo podcast. Links to the podcast are always in the video description. Again, the developers at Analgesic have appeared on the podcast before. So we do, you know, interviews with independent developers, but we also have dedicated, like, kind of mini reviews or discussions, or, you know, spotlighting indie games every single week. And in this week's indie showcase, we will be highlighting Sephonie. So that'll be up this Saturday if you're watching this as it goes live. The game itself comes out on Friday. I'm going to have a purchase link in the video description if you want to check out the game for yourself. Hopefully this video has showcased at least a little bit how special this game is, and why I really hope you give it a chance and check it out for yourself. This has been Sephonie. Huge thanks again to the developers for passing along the code to check it out. Tune into the podcast this weekend to hear even more about Sephonie. And for more Nintendo video content, indie games like this, you're already in the right place. All End Media right here on YouTube. So hit that like and subscribe button before you head out. And until next time, guys, bye-bye.